Hi, everybody. That's Jill here with Illuminating Women for our coffee break and connect during COVID-19. We are still staying together because some of the things that are so important to Illuminating Women is that we empower, encourage, and educate women. And it's always learning new golden nuggets that can make a difference in our life, but can also make a difference in somebody else's life. And today, I have been wanting to get this woman for one of our brick and mortar, one of these things, and she's so busy. She has so many things going on. But what you learn from her and what you see from her, it's like getting added oxygen mask. It's like having the best day on the beach because she just knows how to touch your soul and your heart and fills you with so much. So I am so proud and pleased today to bring forward Dr. Leubgythe Holm. Dr. Leubgythe, share with us a little bit about you and what you're going to teach us today to illuminate our lives and how we can illuminate the lives of women as nurturers and mothers and grandmothers.
Thank you so much, Jill. It's so great to be here today, and I'm honored to be able to share hopefully some inspiration and perspective with you. But first, I just want to thank you, Jill, for keeping us all together through all of this. I mean, it's so important. We have so counted on each other in our live sessions together, but like it's especially important for us to be able to continue. So thank you for all the extra effort that you've done to keep us going. So what I want to first offer, really, and the overall thing I want to give you today is a possible big picture of perspective that can help us navigate at this confusing and sometimes overwhelming time, right? So what I see is that we are experiencing what I would call, it's a classic initiatory process, which is really our lives at a major crossroads. And this is sometimes called a hero's journey, right? Or a heroine, I like to call it a heroine's journey, which is a typical pattern around kind of a cycle or spiral. It's a journey and a familiar repeated pattern that we have in our life. It's birth, life, death. It's like seed planting and growth, and the seed dies, but more seeds can grow. And this is something that we know, but what we are experiencing right now is that pattern at a really, really big level as well as an individual level. So I wanted to give a little more about the pieces of this because I feel like it's going to be helpful for each of us to be able to identify kind of where we are individually in the process so that we can reconnect, choose the pattern where we are and also reconnect with our own inner strengths and come forward in a way that we would have never believed. So the pattern, first too, I want to say that our own birth experience really can affect how we respond to life and its challenges. So whether we had an experience of birth being welcomed and really thriving through that process and knowing that we were wanted, leads us to a life where we expect to be growing and loving people. Or we can have the stance of protection and we shrink, or we are more fearful in how we approach it. So that can be how we approach this challenging crisis time as well. Like if you catch yourself noticing you're going into like hiding more, or really embracing the possibilities of what can come out of it, that's something that when you're aware of it, we can make different choices. So typically what's involved in the process is some type of a call. It's like you hear this inner voice or outer voice to embark on this journey or a quest. And believe it or not, usually we refuse that call initially. We hesitate, we know that it's going to involve some big stuff. So we tend to hesitate. So that's called the refusal of the call. But then if we are ready to cross that threshold and say yes with the big capital Y-E-S exclamation point onto the journey, then we are on the road to some other steps where, believe it or not, it often involves separation Well, how about that? We have been given this separation time. So it's perfect, really, to use this time as an initiation process where we can be really growing. So here we are, separated in many ways. Then there's typically some life-threatening struggle. How about that? We all have like the threat of a virus out there. There's that, which is a natural piece of it. Through that struggle, though, what we do, typically in the feminine version of this journey, we look around and realize that we already have allies. We actually already have what we need to get through this struggle. And once we're through the struggle, we realize that we need to leave something behind in order to move forward. And we can identify, okay, what is it we're going to choose to leave behind so that we can move forward to that return time where we come forward and also identify what our strengths are. What are the new strengths we now know that we have as a result of this struggle with whatever it is? It can be inner, it can be more concrete, the journey, but it helps to stop and take a look at what is that, you know, what's the dragon you're fighting or at this point. And there can be multiple little pieces of it going on. And then finally, if we're doing it in a cycle, returning back, crossing the threshold back to a return, there's a critical piece that is typically missed so that we don't get the full benefit of an initiatory process, which is coming back to the community and being welcomed back, knowing that we've been through some type of a struggle and that we come back with gifts that are actually needed by the community as well. So we all need the gifts that each of us brings into life. But if we're not seen or welcomed back, then that process really doesn't get completed. A classic example of that is people coming back from the military people, from veterans of war, coming back, and look how many of them struggle in life with suicide, with drug problems. And they say in the studies that it's because they have faced life-threatening experiences on behalf of others, but they have not been welcomed back typically in a way that honors that struggle. So that's just one example of how important it is to complete that. So right now, each of us may be feeling a calling or somewhere on that cycle with those different aspects going on. And the thing that calls us, I like to think sometimes of this as the quest being a question. Oh, somebody's muted.
We lost your volume.
You lost me, my volume?
Can't hear you.
Oh my gosh.
There we go. Now you're back. Now you're back.
Okay. Wow. All right. So we each may be feeling a quest that I think it's like a question. We sometimes have a life question, like wondering, oh, well, I wonder how we can solve the problem of hunger. Oh, I wonder how we can do whatever it is that we really know is something that's needed. And in order for us to live more fully into that quest, something in us has to die, but something also has to be born. But it does come from deep inside us. I believe we all come in with a spark of the divine, a heart flame. I like to call it the inner genius. We each have that inner genius that we sometimes get separated from or forget. It's also our higher self. And so a question that I ask sometimes is, what's missing in us or in our culture that might prevent us from experiencing this opportunity? And while the process I describe is familiar, it just isn't embedded in our culture the way it was in more, indigenous cultures that we all came from at some point. Our ancestors knew this, so it's part of why we know this process in the cellular level. We know this is an important piece for us to have. But that's one of the things that I feel like is my calling, or how can we bring those back? we can bring those back by, you know, in various ways. But we do have the opportunity now to experience it both as an individual and in a big planetary way. You all know our systems are falling apart. They are unsustainable in so many ways. And so the opportunity there is a major crossroads to add our individual strength to the whole of our culture. And I wanted to just quickly tell a story of, it's an Irish story, Irish myth, and I tend to think of myth as a truth, and there's a truth embedded in a mythical story. So in Ireland, they talk about, there are 4 provinces, but there's, in medieval times, they talk about the 5th province, which was the center. So they experienced what we're experiencing. Sometimes the center falls apart. When the center that they think of as a woven place, when the center unravels, what they call people to do is each person pick up a thread that's their thread and follow it to the edges, the far edges, to actually pick the end up at the edges. And then, so each of those 4, I won't go into that now, but it's each of the 4 provinces, even like the 4 directions, represents something that's kind of different. So someone might be called to, you know, nature, someone might be called to something else. And so people each go out to the edges, pick up their thread, and then come back to the center and reweave something new and beautiful out of what has fallen apart. So I feel like, you know, those are 2 important levels to look at, and they can be inspiring when we take a look at, like, what if what's falling apart right now is really calling us to something so much bigger and better, which in times of crisis, it always is an opportunity greater than we could imagine. At least, you know, equal to the crisis is always the opportunity. So I just have a few questions for you to think about, and that is, one is, what is your thread? What is breaking your heart right now, or what is calling you to follow right now that you might be strengthening to bring back? And what might your vision be for reweaving that center? And think about where you are on that journey. Are you still at that place of refusing the call? Are you in the midst of the struggle? Are you recognizing who your allies are? Are you remembering your own strength or your inner genius? So just think about, where are you and what is your genius? And have you said yes to the possibility of this life-giving journey that really the result can be far beyond your imagination? So then I want us to think about, especially because Jill, you have this amazing vision for illuminating women. This, I feel like it's part of it. It's like, who are we? Who are we as an illuminating women group? Who are we in our community? Who are we as a planet? And let's link arms. Okay, virtually for now, right? But link arms, get together and weave a new center for ourselves and for generations to come. It is that important and potential that we have. So as most of you know, who've talked to me even for 5 minutes, know that I especially feel the calling to support the unborn children right now and the mamas, because the mamas right now are feeling the stress, and that is being felt on a conscious level and early in the pregnancy at a cellular level by those babies. They are getting wired to know whether this is a fearful or safe place. They are our future. And so we have this opportunity to support these mamas and the future generation. These are brave souls coming in right now. They know what they're coming in for, and they need more support than ever to be fully who they are here to be. So if you know anyone who is expecting, or even those trying to conceive right now, do whatever you can to reduce their stress, offer extra support, and a listening ear. So, you know, you will know what to do, but offer them that stress reduction idea, because it's not like babies can't get through the stress, but they need people to communicate with them that we're going to get through this, because life does have stress. We do have fears and we do get through them, but they need to have that pattern of knowing that they're going to be able to get through it. So I just thank each of you for who you are, for what you bring to all of this. And I really have some excitement in the midst of all of the challenges. And I know people are suffering, and I know that there's hope on the other side of this. So please let me know if I could support any of you through this journey. And also, I have an invitation for people to a new circle that a colleague of mine, Anissa Woodall, are offering beginning May 11th. So that's next Monday evening. We're offering a circle every other week for mamas to go through their own initiatory process and have some extra support during this time.
Oh my word, that is fabulous. Please send me that information so that we can share that with our community and get that, because this is of great value. I don't know about anybody else here, and in a minute we're going to stop the recording, and if anybody has some questions or comments so we can be a little more personal without being recorded, we're going to do that before we end this recording. I just want you to know what a piece that was, because you brought up some really good points during this time, this period, like what can we let go and bring in that thread. What a visual, a thread of weaving. And as you know, in Ireland and Scotland and some of those places where weaving is beautiful, an incredible place to think of that. And when we look at tapestries are woven and they show a bigger picture.
Yeah,
That is just, whoa. I mean, my mind is just like eating this up and just going, wow, my heart, my soul, and my mind needed to hear this wisdom, rich wisdom from you today. So thank you for doing that, and we'll bring that out. So we're going to stop the recording, and on this video and below, you will see in the write-up how to reach out to Dr. Leubgythe. I guess that's I love your name. It's so beautiful, but it just comes off my tongue funny. Will you please say it and pronounce it, Parag?
Leubgythe.
Leubgythe. See, I can do it. I hear it, and it just comes out because it's a beautiful name. Anyway, I want to thank you for plugging in and enjoying. I hope you too got some really golden nuggets. Share this with the women in your life. And let them know of what a beautiful tapestry they can be. So everybody else, hang on. We're just going to have a few more minutes of some questions and connecting. And I want to thank you again for your time. Have a great day. Bye-bye. All right.